Welcome back to our channel, Soap fans. Today is an absolutely wild day to be a viewer, and I just had to jump on here to talk about it. Grab your favorite snack, maybe a strong cup of coffee or a glass of wine, because we are diving deep into the absolute madness that just unfolded in Port Charles. Let's get right into it. I am screaming. I literally had to pause my screen, walk around my living room, and take deep breaths because I cannot believe what I just watched. I am typing this with shaking hands because the writers actually went there. They really truly went there. Peter freaking August is alive. I repeat, Peter August is alive, and he's currently walking around Port Charles wearing Ethan Lovett's face. I'm losing my mind over here. Look, I've been watching this show since 2015, and if there is one thing I thought we were absolutely 100% done with, it was Peter August. Remember the ice shaft, remember the freezer. We all celebrated. We thought the nightmare was over and we could finally move on from Cesar Faison's most unhinged offspring. But no, this is a soap opera. And apparently falling down an ice shaft is just a minor inconvenience that requires a little bit of plastic surgery and a one-way ticket back to town. I am so mad, but at the same time, I am kind of obsessed with how incredibly twisted this is. Am I the only one who feels this weird mix of absolute rage and total excitement? Let's back up and talk about how this all went down, because the execution of this reveal was actually kind of brilliant. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, back to the point. We start in the clinic. Ethan gets into a messy clash with Jen Sidwell's men, which, by the way, makes total sense for his cover story, since the real Ethan would absolutely be throwing down with Sidwell's goons after what Sidwell did to Holly and Lucky. So Britt is treating his wounds. She's being the good doctor, patching up the guy who's supposedly Luke Spencer's son, the guy who has been flirting with Christina and working his way into Sonny's inner circle. And then it happens. She pulls back his shirt, and the camera just zooms in on this very specific, incredibly distinctive scar on his shoulder. My stomach dropped to the floor before Britt's even did, because longtime fans know exactly what that scar is. It's from the explosion years ago, a scar that only Peter August had. You could literally see the blood drain from Britt's face. The sheer terror in her eyes was palpable. Kelly Thiebaud acted the absolute house down in this scene. You could see her entire world shattering as her brain tried to process the impossible. The man sitting on her exam table, making charming quips and pretending to be a Spencer, is her psychotic half-brother. Can we just pause and talk about the plastic surgery trope for a second? I know some people are loving this, but personally, it's always a tough pill to swallow. But honestly, in this specific case, with Peter's insane resources and his sheer desperation to survive and conquer, I kind of buy it. He survived the ice shaft, dragged his broken body to some underground surgeon, and stole the face of a legacy character to get back into town. It is so deeply, darkly Peter. And the fact that he chose Ethan, it's sickeningly smart. But the clues didn't stop at the scar, because Peter just can't help himself, can he? He has to be arrogant. He has to push the envelope. Later on, Britt hears him casually whistling in the hallway. And it's not just any song. It's a very specific, haunting, classical tune that Peter used to listen to on repeat when he was a kid at Windermere. The moment I heard those notes, a chill went down my spine. Britt froze. It was like a ghost was walking past her. The psychological horror of this storyline is off the charts. Britt is already dealing with so much trauma, and now she's being haunted by a brother she thought was rotting in the ground. And it gets worse, because then Britt starts connecting the dots about Cesar Faison's book, The Crystalline Conspiracy. We all know Valentine is currently hiding out in Carly's attic, holding that book and fuming because he can't figure out the connection between the codes Anna's gaslighting in Windermere. But guess who knows way too much about those codes, Ethan? Britt realizes that this fake Ethan has been dropping subtle hints and showing an impossible amount of knowledge about Faison's cryptographic secrets. The real Ethan wouldn't know or care about Faison's insane obsession with Anna or the specific ciphers used in that book. But Peter practically worships at the altar of his father's madness. So Britt puts it all together. The scar, the whistling, the codes, and she confronts him. And guys, the wine cellar scene. I am going to be thinking about this confrontation for the rest of my life. The Quartermain wine cellar is already such an iconic, moody set, and Having this epic sibling showdown happen down there among the dusty bottles and the shadows was cinematic perfection. Britt doesn't just accuse him, she sets a trap. She brings up a deeply traumatizing childhood memory, a hyper-specific detail about their twisted upbringing that only the two of them would ever know. And the way he reacted, oh my god, the charming Ethan facade just melted away. You could literally see the shift in his posture, the deadness returning to his eyes. He dropped the accent. He dropped the Spencer swagger. And there he was, Peter August, standing in the Quartermain wine cellar, smirking that evil sociopathic smirk. I was screaming at my television, "Run, Britt, run," but of course she doesn't run. She stands her ground even though, she's terrified out of her mind. And then comes the confession. And this is the part that actually made me sick to my stomach. Because I know we were all wondering if Peter is wearing Ethan's face and using his identity, where is the real Ethan? Peter just casually, coldly admits that he murdered the real Ethan Lovett overseas. He killed him. I am so devastated. I know Ethan hasn't been a main fixture for a while, but he is Luke and Holly's son. He is legacy. And to have him killed off screen by Peter, just so Peter could steal his identity, it is so incredibly cruel. Think about Tracy. Tracy was just crying to Ethan about how much he reminded her of Luke. She poured her heart out to the man who murdered him. And Lulu was just asking him who he was running from. My heart breaks for the Spencer family. The fallout from this is going to be absolutely nuclear. So why did he do it? Why go through the agonizing process of plastic surgery and identity theft for the Cassadine treasure? Of course, because it always comes back to the Cassadines and their endless piles of cursed wealth. Peter wants the treasure, and he knew that the only way to get close to the resources he needed, specifically Sonny Corinthos' network and the inside track on the current Port Charles power dynamics, was to come back as someone everyone would trust. Someone with a built-in excuse to hate Sidwell. Someone who could walk right into Sonny's house and be handed a job. Which brings me to my next point. Rick Lansing was right. I am so sorry, but we all owe Rick an apology. Rick has been running around telling Sonny that Ethan is hiding something, that Ethan is trying to infiltrate the organization from the inside, and Sonny, in his infinite stubborn wisdom, completely ignored him and chose to trust Luke's son. Sonny is being played like a fiddle by Peter August. Can you imagine the absolute rage Sonny is going to feel when he realizes he invited a monster into his home? And speaking of Sonny's home, can we talk about Christina? I am physically ill thinking about the fact that Christina has been getting butterflies and flirting with Peter August. She thought she was reconnecting with a protective old crush, the guy who helped her through the Kiefer Bauer trauma. But she's actually making hard eyes at a serial killer who is manipulating her to get to her father. When Christina finds out the truth, she is going to need years of therapy. It is such a massive violation, and I am dreading the moment she realizes who she's been batting her eyelashes at. But the most terrifying part of this entire reveal is the corner Britt is now backed into. Because Britt's first instinct is obviously to call the cops, right? Call Dante, call the WSB. Call whoever and get the psycho locked up, but Peter is always 10 steps ahead. He knows exactly what is going on in Port Charles, and he knows about Rocco. This is where the storyline just reaches peak anxiety for me. We all know Rocco Falconeri shot Ross Cullum. We know Jason Morgan is sitting in WSB custody, taking the fall for a teenager. And we know Britt just had a massive panic attack in the GH chapel because Rocco confessed to her, and she knows that if Cullum finds out Rocco is dead, well, guess who else knows Peter? Peter makes it crystal clear in that wine cellar that if Britt breathes a word about his true identity, he will use Rocco's life as collateral. He will expose Rocco to Cullum, or worse, he will take care of Rocco himself. Britt is completely trapped. She is already fighting a war on 3 fronts. She's got her Huntington's disease symptoms creeping back. She's got Ross Cullum breathing down her neck and withholding her medication, unless she finishes Sidwell's dangerous cold fusion prototype. She's got Cassius Faison, who by the way is running around town wearing Nathan's face. Which means Britt is currently surrounded by TWO fake brothers. Seriously, what is in the water in Port Charles right now? It is a Faison family reunion from absolute hell, and now on top of all of that, she has to protect Rocco from Peter while pretending she doesn't know that Peter is Ethan. I don't know how Britt is going to survive this. She is strong, she is a survivor, but this is psychological torture. She is looking at the face of a man she used to care about Ethan. knowing it's a mask hiding the monster who ruined her life, Peter. And she has to smile and play along so that Lulu's son doesn't get murdered. I am so stressed out, you guys. I am typing furiously because my brain is just spinning with the implications of this. What happens when Valentine finds out? Valentine is sitting in Carly's attic trying to decode Faison's book. And the key to the whole thing is currently drinking coffee at Bobby's. What happens when Sidwell realizes that the guy he's beefing with is actually Peter August? The collision course between Sidwell, Sonny, Peter, and Cullum is going to leave Port Charles in absolute ashes. I know some people are going to complain that bringing Peter back is repetitive, and I get it. I really do. We suffered through the Peter August reign of terror for years, but I have to admit, in the execution of this twist, the plastic surgery, the stolen identity, the murder of a legacy character, the blackmail involving Rocco, it is high stakes soap opera gold. It makes everything feel dangerous again. Nobody is safe. I need to go lay down and process this because my heart rate is way too high for this time of night. Let me know in the comments if you saw this coming because I was completely blindsided. Do you think Britt will find a way to outsmart him, or is Peter going to win this round? And please, let's all take a moment of silence for the real Ethan Lovett. He deserves so much better than dying in a foreign country at the hands of a maniac. Okay, I'm logging off before I start yelling at my screen again. Keep watching, keep venting. And I will see you guys next time when we inevitably have to deal with the fallout of this absolute nightmare